Well, hello again, YouTube. It's Petey Two Finger. Taking my glasses off so I don't get all that glare. You can see my eyes. So tonight we did a little bit more work on the amplifier that I've been working on. It looks like a lot, but I'll tell you, this all happened really quickly compared to everything that went in. A project like this, there's a real lot that rolls into that short minute. And I cut it short tonight. It's what time is it now? 9:30. It's like 10. And I could have went ahead. Like we have to wire in a DP-DT, which is 6 solder points, and 2 more power connections. So it's like 10 solder joints I had to do. And everything is prepped, meaning I don't have to do any wire stripping or tinning. I just solder them in. It's already prepped. And I decided to call it a night. Shame on me for working on the Sabbath in the first place. But we've got the input jack. Then here is the clean channel. It's gain and volume. There's a hole where the channel switch is going to go. This is the noise gate threshold, and then here this is volume gain, treble, bass, mid range. And I believe some of these pots were installed incorrectly. These are board mount potentiometers, and I did it where they line up with the board, and that was inverted. So all the way to the left is going to be maximum on this here. I think that might be the case with this. I think this one's going to be normal. So yeah, I'm not going to be using chicken heads, and it will be my little secret. Sometimes when you're DIYing, your pot will work in reverse unless you flip that around, and in this case I'm not going to worry about it. This pretty much how this amp is designed to work is that I will set it how I like it, and then it will just be a toggling in between. And you know, the way I did it, I didn't really leave room for a master volume, but taking a look on the inside, there is room. There is room on top here, or maybe even I could even put a master volume on the side, which would be really cool. I think to have a side knob master volume there. Use a real big honking giant knob because there's room in there. As far as the front goes, let me get a not very strong flashlight and try to help you guys out to see what's going on in here. So yeah, it still needs to be, those connections need to be wired up. And then what I'll do, typically, I've been down this road a lot. I've made so many of these quote-unquote amps, and that's because I like to make music outdoors with my family, and I'm always upgrading the equipment. This is going to be part of a wet, dry, wet. That's a funny word. Wet, dry, wet rig. So this is going to be a center channel for me for my guitar, and typically what I'll do is I'll build it, and then you need a Phillips screwdriver, honey. And then before I go ahead and fire it up, I'll load it up with batteries, and then I'll unscrew the positive terminal from the power connection on the main amplifier, and I'll pull that wire out and clip it to a test lead to my meter, and then turn the power switch on and take a look. Are you getting 24 volts? Is the polarity correct? Is there any smoke or Does the fuse fail? You know, is there a catastrophic failure? And at that point, then, if the answer is no, everything's fine and you're getting 24 volts, I'll shut the main power switch off and then reinstall that power switch and then test it. And usually, when it comes to this amp building process, I've tested all of the preamp circuits. So the chances that there's going to be a failure at the end of the road when you do that test is slim to none. You know, I've tested this stuff, it's working, and then I take great care when I'm connecting it, the final connections, unless I make a mistake in there, which is slim to none. So this one is going to be probably tomorrow. I'm going to be putting the soldering up those last 10 connections, and basically the input, there's a buffer and a booster, and then there's a kind of a longer coaxial cable that goes to a DP-DT. And so you solder the hot side to the middle. There's 6 connections on the left, and then the ground gets soldered to the chassis of the switch. So the chassis is almost going to be like a star ground. There's going to be 3 wires on each side, 3 grounds. And then on the opposite side, in the middle of that DP-DT, you put the output cable. And you solder that ground to the outside in the middle. And then on the top, you run the clean channel, the input on the left and the output on the right. And then on the lower connections of the DP-DT, the input for the noise gate, and the output of that noise gate goes to the input of the distortion, and the output of the distortion goes to the right lower connection of that DP-DT. So that way, when you throw the switch down, you're getting clean circuit. When you throw the switch up, you're getting the distortion circuit, which has the noise gate on the input side. So that's how I'm wiring that up. I could use a 3P-DT switch and have 2 different, like a green and then a red LED, red for the distortion, and mount those LEDs so I could always see, oh, you're on your clean channel, but you know what? I have ears, and I'm going to know when I'm on the clean channel versus the dirty channel. So, yeah, the weak element of this amp is the noise gate. It's a DOD 230 noise gate, and it just, I'm finding it difficult to believe the DOD that was charging people for that with the operation of this, because it was so much on the low end of the pot to throw. Like, I wanted more to turn it down, but we'll see. Ultimately, I will see how the noise gate performs, and nothing is written in stone with this amp except for where I've drilled the front panel. So if I need to move, if I need to, let's say it's clamping, I'm sustaining, and it closes, what I would do at that point is switch the order and put the noise gate after the distortion circuit. That way the sustain that's generated by the distortion circuit and the volume increase is going to negate, it's going to encourage that noise gate to stay open longer. I really don't think it'll be a problem. You know, I added this Fetzer valve on the input, which is going to give me, I don't know, 10, 16 dBs a gain, something like that. And I think that's going to be enough to, let me see. Oh, look at that. My wife went through with a magnet and found all this debris, demons. Yeah. So this amp should be finished tomorrow. I'd like to get a better handle, like an amp handle maybe, but I won't. It doesn't, I mean, that's fine. And it'll be interesting to see how much that weighs. It's kind of heavy already, and I don't have any batteries in it. So it's going to be heavy. The thing about the Class D amp It's rated at 100 watts. And of course, I'm only going to be getting 3 out of it. Let's say I'm getting a third of a watt. Does that make you feel better? They don't. It's not going to really generate any heat, but it's going to be loud. This is way louder than I need it to be with 24 volts on the front end of it. It's loud. These things are loud with a 9-volt battery on them. They really are. You'd be surprised how loud these things are. The TDA 3116D2 mono class D amp board. So yeah, right now there's no power indicator on it. I've got this 22 millimeter power indicator coming. I think the smart idea would be to put that power indicator right in here. It might be too large. I might end up with a 16 millimeter or just a 10 millimeter LED. That was originally what I was going to use. I had a red one picked out with a plastic chrome bezel. And then maybe I'll put a master volume right in here, which really that's just a matter of the power amp has a 10K trimmer on the front end, and what I've been doing is cutting that out. I go in there with the snips, go high and cut each leg, and then I'll apply some flux to the standing posts that are left from where I cut that trimmer off, and solder them, tin them, and then I'll solder right onto there. 3 wires right onto the board, and then eventually, you could hot glue it if you want. But you run those 3 wires up to a potentiometer, a 10K logarithmic potentiometer, and Bob's your uncle. So yeah, we got to see. I probably will put the idea with the having the master volume would be that I can find a balance in between the dirty and clean channel and with their individual respective volume controls, and then negate master volume to, this song I need a little more or a little less. So I'm going to try to not put a master volume in this amp. I really am. I'm thinking I'm going to just tweak it internally, get it to where I want it the first time we go out, and see, can I get away with it? How does that work with our set? Am I messing with the volume controls a real lot? And at that point, eventually add it. I'm not going to go ahead and add it because as it is, I like the way it looks, and there just isn't a good spot to put it. Once I get that switch in there, I mean, if maybe here. See, there's a PCB here. Yeah, I could get a pot in there. I could put the master volume next to this volume switch here, which it'd be like here's this thing. It's not. So maybe it will end up on the side. I don't know. So I don't have a name for this thing, the black amp. But I think I'm going to like this one. It's a shame I spent so much on the amp I built last year, the Blue Tack amp with the spring reverb in it. That's such a great amp. But ultimately, at some point, when I build one more of these, which is going to be the Tweed, I can set my rig up with a wet, dry, wet where I'm not using the PA at all. But I'll be using like 45 batteries. So I don't think that's going to happen. I could always put power supply plugs in these and use them off of AC at some point too. But it's just more of like, oh, this is a fun project for me to consume some time. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed that. I will be doing demos with this. More or less, the demo is going to be when we're out at the quarry playing using this piece of gear. But I will do a demo for you coming up soon. So thanks for joining me on this amp building adventure. It's almost over. Have fun and peace.